Last week, I made a video on cheap hot hatchbacks that you could buy for under £3,000. I said in that video, if you guys gave me 1,000 likes, I would do the same video again at a different price range. And I am very happy that you guys gave me those 1,000 likes because I really wanted to make this video. There are a bunch of relatively cheap hot hatchbacks that are insanely cool and pretty special for the money as well, that I think have the potential to go wild in price in future. How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video on cheap hot hatchbacks. Today, we're going through a bunch of really cool cars, so let's jump straight into it. I'm tired of doing my disclaimer every video, so from now on it's going to be on screen instead, or in the description down below. Again, 1,000 likes in this video, I'll make another hot hatchbacks video that I think is particularly useful for those of you who are a little bit younger. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get into the video. In the UK, we were sadly not blessed with quite a few JDM special editions of cars, and in some cases, entire cars didn't make their way over here. However, as Japan also drives on the left-hand side of the road, people who are willing to put the effort into import cars over here still get sweet right-hand drive cars. This is exactly the case with the Honda Civic Type R EK9 or the first generation Civic Type R, which we never got in Europe, but a decent amount have been imported to the UK for our driving pleasure. They come with a 1.6 litre inline-4 engine that makes 182 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.7 seconds, which isn't bad at all for a small hot hatch that started life in 1997 and ended production in 2000. Despite being the first generation Civic Type R, it was actually the 6th generation Civic, and of course had an Integra opposite with the same key engine and features. With that Integra now demanding some pretty insane prices, particularly in top condition, I feel it's only a matter of time before the Civic goes the same way. With this car though, Honda took the existing SIR car and spent time turning it into a car that was built to go fast on track but remained road legal. I love this ethos on building a car, as it's not just building something fast for the sake of it, they actually made it with track driving in mind, hence you'll find plenty of these converted to track cars on YouTube. It has an LSD to keep it in shape, as well as a close ratio gearbox and a more rigid chassis. It also got Recaro bucket seats and the now traditional red interior all around, plus a bunch of parts removed to save weight like sound deadening. Add on the fact the engine is one of the best in terms of output per litre for a naturally aspirated car, and you've got a winning formula. Of course, as these are imports, they are quite hard to come by, but they are available starting anywhere from around £17,500, with 20k netting you a lovely example with low mileage. Oil leaks are known from seals being worn out, particularly from the valve cover, distributor cap and VTEC solenoid. Rust has also appeared on many of these, as with plenty of other Japan-only cars. In many previous videos, I've complained about what a letdown the Mark IV Golf GTI was, but not all Mark IV Golfs are disappointing. The Mark IV Golf R32 is the original VW R car, which paved the way for multiple Rs we have available on the market today, which are well known and well loved. It comes with a 3.2 litre VR6 engine that produces 237 brake horsepower, which gets from 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds, plus, as is tradition with VW R cars, it's all-wheel drive, which is pretty cool for a hot hatch. It's not the only all-wheel drive car on this list though, so stay tuned for that. But sticking with the R32 for now, of all the Golfs available off of the market by 2003, nothing had the prowess of this beast. It was similar to the Mark I Audi TT in that many components, including that engine, were shared with it, hence it was hugely well equipped. And it even came with the DSG automatic gearbox, which I think made it the world's first production car to ever have a dual clutch gearbox. It also had the Haldex all-wheel drive system, some properly aggressive Koenig bucket seats, huge brake discs and calipers, as well as those iconic OZ Aristo alloys with the more savage body kit and pretty sizable air intakes on the front. For me, that body kit really ties things together, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you'll probably know that I'm a huge rally fan, and it's a bit niche, but this car reminds me of the Mark IV Golf rally car that Tapio Laukkonen drove in the 2000 British Rally Championship. If looking for a top spec model, they were all relatively similar, but two colours were particularly rare: Tornado Red and Black Magic Pearl. Tornado Red specifically seems to garner the higher prices, but it's pretty easy to get into a deep blue pearl, which I personally love as a colour. But they're rare as anything anyway, with just 750 right-hand drive models built for the UK market. It's already a modern classic in my opinion, backed up by the fact that in the time that I've been making videos, these have absolutely shot up in value, possibly more than any other car I've tracked over the last 4 years, now starting at around £11,000, with 20 grand grabbing you a nice example with around 50,000 miles on it. Timing chains are known to stretch and tensioners have broken in the past, so worth checking, and there are some smaller electrical gremlins to be aware of. This list is just full of my personal favourites, I'm not gonna lie, as the first generation Ford Focus RS is literally a top tier classic hot hatch in my opinion. I remember being at primary school where someone in the flats that overlooked the school playground owned one, and I'd stare through the fences at it in awe more often than I am willing to admit. It has a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4 which puts out 215 brake horsepower, which takes to 60 in 6.2 seconds. For the fast forward fans out there, the Focus was a return to the rally sport badging that we know and love from Escorts and Sierras of the past, and the car was at least reminiscent of the Focus WRC car driven by Colin McRae and Carlos Sainz in the World Rally Championship. It wasn't a homologation special though. In fact, it originally wasn't even going to get the RS badge, as the plan was to build a racing Focus to follow on from the racing Puma, but that Puma wasn't selling too well, so Ford brought back the RS badge instead. That doesn't mean that it's just a modified Focus though, as 70% of the parts were either bespoke or upgraded from the standard car, including multiple forged parts in the engine and those 18-inch alloys that were developed specifically for the car by OZ Racing. If you're buying one, be aware that all 2,147 that were sold in the UK literally only came in one colour, Imperial Blue, and though I think the interior is a bit average, I'm a fan of all the bespoke Sparco equipment it got. Like the Civic, it also got an LSD which drastically improved the handling, and both owners and reviewers said it was the best handling hot hatchback made to date when released, or among the best at least. These are pretty expensive now, starting at around £17,500, while £20,000 will get you a 2003 model with around 90,000 miles on it. Rust is known on these around the sills, arches and front wings, and there are some problems that arose in the early days from Jubilee clips failing to seal hoses correctly. Worth also noting that the engine is underpowered compared to what it can take, and the gearbox can take more power too, so if you buy a standard one, you'd hope it wouldn't have ever been too badly harassed. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget, I said 1,000 likes and I'll do the same video again, but for young drivers in particular. And if you haven't already, do hit subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I don't even know what to set as my next goal, maybe 250k? 250k subscribers I want to hit next, so let's go for that. And it's another personal favourite taking second on this list, as well as being Romain Grosjean's first car. And what a first car the Alfa Romeo 147 GTA would be, with its 3.2 litre V6 engine which makes 246 brake horsepower, more than any other car on this list, taking it from 0 to 60 in 6.1 seconds. It was designed by two individuals, one being the former head of design for VW Group who designed the Audi R8, and the bloke responsible for the Alfa Romeo 8C. In GTA spec you get a hot hatch with a properly old school formula, matched with that reasonably large V6 block. The wider and more aggressive body, the stunning interior, and the option of a cellar speed automated manual box if you're that way inclined. There were just over 5,000 GTAs built, and just over 1,000 of them came with that automated manual. At the same time though, there was a lot missing from this car that could impede it from actually being a particularly useful hot hatch. Originally, larger brakes, which were pretty important to stop this beast, were just an option, which wasn't helpful at all, and another option was the LSD, which again was very useful if you actually fancied turning corners in a car that has that V6 block sitting above its two driven wheels at the front. That Busso V6 makes up for it though, in my opinion, as one of the greatest sounding V6s of all time, and when new it was producing way more power than its competitors like the R32 I mentioned before and the Audi S3. I think this would go on to be yet another classic by Alfa. It looks amazing, sounds amazing, and has character in the way that it drives. It's just another Alfa that enthusiasts will continue to know and love. £12,000 minimum that you'll find these listed for, and most sit at around the 15k mark, where you'll get a 2004 model with pretty low mileage. A huge benefit of these is that rust is massively rare, but suspensions are getting old and tired if they haven't been replaced, so worth looking at that. Drive one for a bit to check if it's overheating at all, as that has been known too, and do try to find an example with an LSD, as they're super important for handling as discussed. We started this video off with a Japanese car, let's finish it off with one too, specifically the Nissan Pulsar or Sunny GTIR. I say Pulsar or Sunny as in Europe it was the Sunny, while elsewhere it was badged the Pulsar. I remember watching Jeremy Clarkson absolutely rag on the Nissan Sunny in a pre-Top Gear video when I was a kid, so I'll stick to the Pulsar name for this video, and the GTIR is basically the hot hatch, much cheaper version of Godzilla. It has a 2-litre turbocharged inline-4, specifically the hallowed SR20 Det, which produces 220 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.3 seconds, absolutely smoking the rest of this list. Oh, and it's also all-wheel drive, it's a proper little beast. Now, unlike the RS, this was a homologation special, built so Nissan could enter the Group A class of the World Rally Championship. Nissan built 5,000 of them in total and 500 specific homologation models as required, but it wasn't a successful car sadly. Nissan Motorsport Europe ran the team and only entered rallies that they thought the car would excel at, but in both 1991 and 1992 it didn't match expectations, and Nissan gave up on the project, instead sending their money to the Le Mans program, coming out with a stunning R390. So this car basically enabled that absolute beaut. Back to the GTIR though, what made it so rapid is 1, that all-wheel drive layout, and 2, its power to weight ratio. ratio, which is just insane considering it's a pretty small car with a powerful block and a lot of traction. The bonnet has that massive quad scoop in it to help you recognize it, as well as in many cases the additional rally lights, and a pretty nice interior too. It of course only has a niche fan base, but I think that will continue to grow. These are pretty hard to come by, but £13,000 a minute you'll find them listed for, while 20 grand gets you a 1994 model with around 70,000 miles on it. Parts are expensive for these sadly, and many haven't been meticulously maintained over the years given they were built to be harassed. There are some known oil leaks, and the timing chain is pretty strong too, though it may need replacing if you hear a rattle. The cooling system has been known to have problems too, which can lead to bigger engine issues. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to hit the like button, I would really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new here. Massive thanks to the patrons always for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. Oh, and my favourite car from this video, probably the GTA. I think I'd have the GTA if I had the choice. No, I'd have the RS. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Listen.